Top four, bottom four.
It's a hard one because
Come
Adelaide's
on,
always
I
going
know
to have
you're
my heart.
Adelaide.
Yours? Do we feel that was a fair suspension?
So I think the bit for me that is troubling is just...
Who are these sources?
And
No, he doesn't say nothing. No.
So you just can't,
Lips are sealed.
You can't say anything. So, forgotten player who is my pick for MVP is...
There is a rumour about a certain international player coming from the Asian region, and it's to do with Perth. What do you know? Tell me more.
Who would you pick as your face of the league if you had your choice? Welcome to the Sixth Woman Basketball Podcast. Beza, great to see you.
Always great to see you.
Always great to see you. How's your week been?
It's been good. Suffering from hay fever, so I sound a little nasally. But
Yeah, but you're not suffering too badly because I've seen you attending the Him premiere. How was the Him? How was Him? The movie, if those who haven't heard.
Yes, Marlon Wayans. I went because of him.
Quick, you got to be quick. Yes
I
or
went
no?
because
Should
of
people
him.
go?
If you like horror, if you like gore, yes, but it was too ritualistic for me.
So
I'll put
the
it
answer
like
is
that.
don't go. And then obviously out and about again, the NBA in Melbourne. You're at those premieres. You've had it, so you must be.
It was
really,
a busy weekend.
You must be really not well.
It was. Okay, you know what?
Anyway,
I can feel the hatred.
welcome
feel the
to
frustration.
the Sixth Woman Basketball Podcast. It's our second episode, and it's hopefully a bit of a global courtside seat to what's happening in women's basketball across leagues, players, stories, and it's been a really interesting period. Mm-hmm. Lots happening, but we've got an interesting show today.
We do. What are the main points? What are the 3-4 things we're going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the new WNBL, which is launching this month. Talk a bit about the teams, players, even the league itself, how that's come about, what that might mean. We're definitely going to talk a bit about the WNBA because it's been quite a wild week in the WNBA, on the court with the finals, but off the court with everything going on. And then we might duck into a couple of interesting pieces and a couple of rumours flying around that we'll relate to.
Maybe we keep it to the end.
Maybe keep that to the end and we'll go from there.
We love a sneaky rumour.
Yeah. So let's start with the league. So the reformed WNBL, the league's been around for over 40 years. The last 15, 20 years been run by Basketball Australia. So let's just do a bit of a quick snapshot of what's happened in the last 18 months. So new owners of the league, so Robin Denholm and the Woolamai Group and particularly her daughter Victoria, along with Larry Kesselman and the NBL have taken over ownership of the league. Basketball Australia still have a minority share, but certainly being driven and funded and resourced. That took control from April this year. So lots of changes happening and lots of new people. Jenny Seeger's in as the new CEO. New league office has been established with sort of 12 to 15 people, so better resourcing. They've announced expansion from 8 teams to 9 teams next year in Tasmania,
Always
which is
exciting.
really exciting.
We love to see an expansion.
They've put out an expression of interest for a 10th team, which would probably be for the year after, I think. And
Brisbane?
probably, I would have thought, logically, with
It makes sense.
with the Olympics and so on, you'd think certainly they'd be pretty keen, I would have thought. Team ownership models, we've got a couple we'll talk through that have changed, but certainly a lot more expectation on the owners, but also more expectation of what they get from the league. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. And then, of course, we're going to launch the league, or the league is going to launch in October. Season's pretty much the same structure, but a new collective bargaining agreement. And for the first time in 5 years, a 3-year collective bargaining, a bit of certainty for players, which and I suppose on the other side for owners. So that's an interesting development. And of course, the broadcasting
deal.
Everything.
Yeah.
Very similar to last year. It'll sound. I think the question in the broadcast is more how good is the broadcast. Time will tell on that.
Yeah.
So a lot happening. I think that's
just a little bit.
Just a little
Couple
bit.
things.
So what? You've been you're a fan. You're a advocate. What might be one or two things you hope for from the new league?
So, firstly, I love I want to put out there the logo and the branding. I absolutely love it. It may have, inspired some of our colouring in the backdrop of our podcast content. I think there's just an air of excitement. There's an air of excitement that I haven't felt probably the last 3-4 years. And I'm hearing more people talk about it. I've heard people that they may not have necessarily watched previous games or known a lot about it, but they know that there's been changes. They know that there's new ownership, which means that the marketing is starting to work a little bit in a way that maybe it hasn't been as effective before. And I think, especially with what we're doing, it's about bringing new eyes to the game so that we can expand the game and we can get as many people interested and coming to the games. One thing that always excites me is when the WNBL plays at John Cain Arena. Anything where it's a large stadium. So they've got that coming up.
Opening game, October the 18th.
Yeah.
Flyers are playing Canberra. They've picked a pretty good game. You've got Cayla George. You've got Jade Melbourne.
Star players for sure.
It'll be very interesting to see how it kicks off.
I think that. I would love to see more of that.
Yeah. And I think the other bit is it's a chance for people to focus on one thing to launch the season, even though it's only about 2 teams. But I have a feeling, my own sense is you need to build a bit of hope here off the excitement and sort of bring those that love the WNBL, before you try and get new fans, just give them some hope and some confidence that this is going to be a new era. So I won't say there's a lot on the line on that Saturday, but I think everybody who loves the WNBL will be looking and it'll be interesting what comes of it. 100%. I really wish the best for all of them. Let's talk a little bit about who we think are the faces of this WNBL for this season. Start with who would you pick as your face of the league if you had your choice?
I'm going to go with someone who I really admire as a player, and I love her ability to manage her life on and off the court, and what she's done both in Australia and overseas. Cayla George, to me, as a star athlete in Australia, the impact she's made as a champion in the US with the Aces.
Only 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And she plays with played with some of my favourite players in the WNBA. She's a mother, and she brings her daughter along to the games and gets her involved and excited. And I think she's just a great advocate for the game, great advocate as both a mother and an athlete. I just love how she navigates that as a role model in general.
And on a new team
yeah,
this year.
New
back in Melbourne. Played with the Boomers.
I know,
for
I
5
messaged
years.
her, I said, I can't wait. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, a couple of years with Sydney. Now she's the face of the Flyers in many ways. And we'll get to the team, but we'll go through team by team in a minute. But I think, she's and an interesting, signed for at least 2 years with an option for third.
We love stability, so that's great.
Which is good. Yeah. I really do think that's important for the fans of that team in particular. So, okay.
Yours?
There's 2 really, I think. I love Anneli Maley. Yeah. I love the fact that she plays in the league. Yeah. And she's consistently played in the league. She's pretty unique. Certainly as an Australian player, I think she's quite unique. Mm-hmm. But she's pretty unique as a player. The size she is, the rebounding, the
athleticism,
just the drive. And I think she's really found her home in Perth. Yeah, from a WNBL perspective.
She's also found her voice. Her voice and her confidence in talking about the game, advocating for the game. Anneli, I love to see it. I love the fact that you're at the WNBL, at the NBL, on the court, talking to the athletes and being able to resonate with them when you ask those questions, because as an athlete how it feels to be in that position, and then goes out and dominates on the court as well. And
playing 3-on-3 for Australia. But I couldn't go past Jade Melbourne. She is
the smiling assassin.
Yeah, well, I'll give an interesting perspective on that in a minute, because I think we sort of forget that she's only 23. She started playing as a pro when she was 17. So she feels like she should be the leader of a team. She's sort of been the leader of Canberra.
Her maturity level.
Yeah. The challenge, I think, and so fun to watch, just the way she plays, not just actually the execution, just the way she plays. But the last 5 seasons she's had at the pro level, sort of at the Mystics, 2 years, and at Canberra, have, for the team side, have not been successful. So I think the next evolution for her, and again, you've got to remember she's 23, not 28, is leading a successful team on the court. And Canberra could be that this year. That's, I think, the interesting bit to watch with her this year is, and And just, I love my stats and love my data, that the winning record of her team over those 5 seasons is just under 30%, right? Which she would not be happy with, clearly, and that's not putting it on her at all, because in the WNBA she's not the lead point guard necessarily, but team success, I can only imagine that will drive her pretty hard. She's had it with the Opals, with the bronze medal at the Olympics. So I'm just think it's a fascinating story. Back in Canberra, committed back to Canberra. Didn't, there was always a question whether she'd go back this year. So we'll come to team by team. But Jade Melbourne, I think, in some ways, I think she is the face of the league. Yeah. And I just hope we don't forget how lucky we are to have her here.
Oh, we certainly don't. There's actually one local Canberrian, whatever your name is when you're from Canberra, one of those people.
Canberrian,
that one, who is I don't know, I wouldn't say secret admirer, but not so secret admirer of hers. I saw him on the weekend. His name's Angus. He's a big NBA 2K player. I think he's got like 250,000 subscribers. It's huge. And his favourite player is Jade Melbourne. He raves about her. So,
I have to say my niece's favourite player, without question. One's Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, but she follows Jade. So I think she is one that people she's got a lot of fans. And she's, I think, the last 2 years won the fan award in the WNBL.
She's just so nice. So, she's such a lovely human.
But let's get to a little bit of team by team. We're going to do this, not in depth. This is not a 3-hour podcast of going through.
I mean, we could make it that.
But because we could talk about this for hours. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go through team by team alphabetically, and you're going to say, and I'm going to say, top 4, bottom 4. So there's 8 teams in the league. Are they going to make the finals, or are they going to be bottom 4? We'll pull that out at the end of the season, see how we did. We might get to a few other predictions. But in doing so, I'll just give a little bit of snapshot of the team, who owns them, what that might mean. So let's start with Adelaide.
My hometown.
Your hometown. The off story of the season, almost disappeared from the league. All around this change to the new licence agreement and what that meant, and they had previous owners in the Pellegrini group, and now and they were, in a sense, saved by both the South Australian government, the Premier there, but also by the league owners who said, no, we need a team in Adelaide. And just in the recent past, last few days, been announced they've got some minority shareholders, Adelaide-based minority. We know how parochial Adelaide people are. New head coach in Karen Mitchell. Almost complete change in the roster, although Steph Talbot is back as the stalwart. And probably an opportunity for Dallas Loffridge it's going to be her team at the point guard level. So top 4, bottom 4.
It's a hard one because
Adelaide's
always going to have my
Adelaide.
Heart. And also because Izzy Borlase was probably one of my favourite new starters for a long time. I hate to admit this, but I'm not going to say they're at the bottom, but they're top of my bottom 4.
Okay. So
don't hate me, guys.
I'm
saying top of my bottom 4 for this one, okay?
All right, they're bottom 4. Very interesting import there. Sana Fagan, who is out of South Carolina, just finished her first year in the WNBA, and outstanding athlete, played little in the pro level and even at college level minutes-wise. Could be anything. Time will tell. See how we go. Bendigo, reigning champions. They lose 3 players actually that were central to their championship last year. Sammy Whitcomb, MVP of the league.
We love
Veronica Burton, who, if she wasn't MVP of the league, was certainly in the top 3, becomes the most improved player in the WNBA off the back of that. And Kelly Wilson, who at the age of 85, but no, at 40, having played 400-plus years, is having a baby, so congrats to her.
Incredible.
They bring in Izzy Borlase from Adelaide. They retain 2 amazing veteran players in Kelsey Griffin and Mariana Tolo, and Kennedy continues as the coach, and they're owned by Craig Hutchins' SEN Group, which gives them a lot of stability. And so top 4, bottom 4.
Top 4.
Top 4, yep, I agree with you.
I think that's an easy one.
By the way, I think Adelaide will finish bottom 4 and probably at the bottom end of the bottom 4.
That's just rude. You're just saying that because I said top.
No,
anyway, moving on.
Opinion-based podcast. So, okay, the UC Caps, run by Carrie Graff for a long time, as the overall club leader. Owned by the University of Canberra for a long time. Stable franchise and a really great core of Jade Melbourne, Nadu Pooch, Sarah Blitzaz joins them, coming off the back of her injuries and recovery last year. Zatina Akuso joins them, and a really interesting French player, Cardi Sissiko. Yeah. So very talented roster. Probably the most talented roster they've had since their championship 5 years ago now. So top 4, bottom 4.
Because of the players, I want to say top 4, but they're in my bottom 4. But can I give a quick shout out to Nadia, because she was on the weekend on the court at the NBA games.
Oh, was she?
She participated in the skills challenge on the fan night.
Did she?
So she was on the court with the Pelicans. And I hope she heard me screaming. I was lucky enough to be courtside that day, and I think my whole phone is just full of videos of her. She was amazing. Great. She did some great 3-point shots.
Can I ask you, when's the last time you didn't sit courtside?
Never, Tony.
No,
anyway,
I was going to say, so there's no need for you to say you sit courtside.
Hey, I said lucky enough. I appreciate it every time. Please keep inviting me.
Same shout out to Nadu, because I think she's probably one of the 2 favourites in my mind for the Betty Watson Emerging Player of the Year. 100%. I think she's got this just might be the time for her.
Strength and confidence, and she's just been getting more and more confident. You see that each season.
The Geelong Venom, who have rebranded now from the Geelong United, and obviously they took the licence from the Melbourne Boomers, or bought the licence a couple of years ago. Head coach, one of the 2 most experienced coaches in the league, Chris Lucas, run by Geelong United Basketball, but with some private ownership in Geelong. So very Geelong-based, which is, I think, fantastic for that region. Lost a couple of good players. Keely Frolling's gone to Sydney. Hayley Jones hasn't returned from having gone back to the WNBA. But 2 really interesting imports in Alyssa Pilley and Mackenzie Holmes. They're classically, WNBA, I won't say fringe players, but sort of bench players, and probably coming down for the development. And then Jazz Shelley's back for her 2nd year off the back of a really strong NBL 1 program. And interestingly, there's a core of 4 or 5 players there who play NBL 1 together. And then a really interesting addition in Cayla Hill, who's going to miss 2 or 3 months of the season, unfortunately, because of injury. But probably you'd have to say more talented as a roster from last year, but a pretty new one as well. So
I'm impressed with the roster, with the lineup, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Cayla Hill play. I'm gonna say bottom 4. But I'm really excited to see how this team comes together and how well they play.
No, I think so, and I think they'll miss the finals as well. But because I think there's some just stronger established teams, but I think they're going to certainly step up from where they were last year. So Perth Lynx, Ryan Petrick continues to coach them. They're part owned by SEN as well, which is an interesting sort of conflict of interest to manage when they own another team in Bendigo. But I'm sure the league's doing that. But they've got a local family, Jodie Milhan and Kristen Hoff. So I hope I've got those names right, who are local owners as well. So really strong franchise.
Great to see local support.
Local ownership, which just makes a difference, I think. Mila Goodchild, or COL, has gone to Townsville. So that's a big loss for them. But they've retained their core. Amy Atwell, Anneli Maley, Ali Wilson. There's probably not a better 3 Australian experienced 100%. WNBL players. And we'll come to the rumour at the end about who they might be signing.
Who that extra player?
Top 4, bottom 4?
It's an easy one for me, top 4. Yeah. I feel like they've become a legacy club. We talk about legacy families. They're a legacy club.
Fierce rivalry with Townsville the last couple of years. Yeah. So, no, I agree.
They've got that special sauce, and they just keep nailing it.
And I think, interesting. I think Ryan is... I think he's early 40s. He's, I think, one of the really emerging thought-leading coaches in Australian basketball, and particularly in Australian women's basketball. So, Southside Flyers, their local Melbourne team. Well, I think they're now called the Melbourne Southside Flyers. So a slight rebranding. Owned by Jerry Ryan, who's just a long-time stalwart of both women's sport, specifically women's basketball, and more generally owns the part owner of the Melbourne Storm, owns a range of Melbourne Cup winners, so he's just an icon in Melbourne.
Is this the only single person or single company person owned team, WNBL team?
I think Jerry would say his family owns it, so there's a little bit of there's a broader, but Jerry is he took it over from Danny Nong and he owns it, and he really
he's done a fantastic job.
Done
Their family's done a great job.
Christy Harrower, Australian legend. Second year as head coach. Last year was her first year. Tough year. Had a lot of injuries. Lots of significant outs in Nels Hillman. They were hoping to get her back, but she's obviously playing in Unrivaled. Or not obviously, she's playing in Unrivaled. Alice Koenig has gone back to Europe. Beck Cole, their championship-winning captain, was released by the club, which is sort of an interesting evolution.
I was very sad to hear that.
And she's playing in New Zealand in the Tahi League for Wellington. So just a lot of change in the roster, but some big ins. Cayla George, you talked about her earlier. Izzy Bourne, who you'd probably say is another really emerging talent. And then
they've still got their Maddie Rocci.
Yeah, they're backed in Maddie Rocci. This is her team.
Yeah, 100%.
She's won 2 championships with Southside, 2 with earlier in her career with Canberra.
They've got the stability there.
Yeah, top 4, bottom 4.
I want to say top 4. No, I am going to say top 4. I will make a comment though with the Alice and Beck situation. Those 2 girls I absolutely adore. I've had a lot to do with them personally.
You mean Alice and
Alice
Beck?
And Beck, sorry, Alice and Beck. Alice, I love you. You're overseas. She had an injury with her finger. She had her hand in a cast. And Beck is in New Zealand. And I know Beck in New Zealand. One, she's going to love it, and they're going to love her because she's an incredible player and just a beautiful personality.
Well, I think interesting with Beck, and I think it's a reflection maybe for the league to think about, is how does a player like that not be in the WNBL? I think that's a really an interesting question because. She does media. She's got a good profile. Fans love her. It's a really interesting.
She's a great leader on the court as well. Yeah. When you see her, she demands attention. Sorry, not attention. She what's the word? She's just great. She's a great leader. Has a huge presence on the court. You can't help but watch her. But the way her players, her team would come around her, and she can just lead them with such confidence, and they follow and they trust in her. There's not heaps of players. There's not that many players that I see that do it the way she does.
So, equally, she may well be an opportunity because I think injuries are going to play a place in this through the season as well because the rosters are relatively shallow. She may well be an option for the second half of the season coming back out of New Zealand. Look, Southside was an interesting one for me. They were my were they the 4th or the 5th team? I think the question mark over them is chemistry of their team. And so for that reason, I'm going to pick them bottom 4. But very talented roster. But I think there's just a bit of a ways to go. And I think there's some other teams that we've talked about.
4th and 5th is always an interesting,
Sydney Flames. Guy Malloy, my long-time head coach of the Boomers, owned, interestingly, by the same, by the Wallamoo Group through Hoops Capital. So they own the Sydney Kings and the Sydney Flames. So some interesting delicacies there from a governance perspective again, although that's part of the evolution and part of what the NBL went through as well. They built a really good roster. Forgotten player who is my pick for MVP is Lauren Nicholson. Back from having a baby last year. I always felt the Boomers, or we always felt she was the best player in the league, Australian player, consistently. Incredible. And I think she's going to have a big impact on being back on the court. Very talented young player, Shanice Swain. Again, very young, but drafted into the WNBA. Still a lot to learn, I suspect, but very talented. And, again, a bit unique in her ability, a bit like Amy Atwell, to score off herself rather than Keely Frolling's gone there. Really just a strong, WNBA stalwart. Really interesting import, Unique Thompson. Interesting name because she is unique. But Unique has played in the NBL 1 the last 2 off seasons, but last year won the MVP of the Russian League.
Oh.
Yeah. So now the Russian League is not what it was 10 years ago because of Ukraine and the issues that have come there. But and for a couple of years there were no American players going there at all. But she's an American player. She's a little undersized, but MVP of the Russian League, that's pretty strong.
That's
and last
incredible.
year, and certainly the Russian League last year was probably as strong as it's been since it went through those.
I've seen the strength and the height of those girls in that league, so that's incredible to be able to
And then my other my other pick for emerging player of the year is Agnes Emma Nopu, who is sort of known, but has been in college for 5 years. Played in a national championship team with Stanford, then went to TCU and went through all the way to the NCAA final. Just a tremendous person, I think it's fair to say. First year back, first year playing pro. She's super smart. She's going to be a neurosurgeon or something as well. So she's just got
adding to the accolades.
But I think she might just add something to that team that they need in terms of the glue. So Sydney for me are top 4.
I agree.
Good. Well, we agree on something. That's terrific. And then last but certainly not least, because you'd probably say that Townsville Fire are the championship favourites. Kept the core of their team from last year. Lost Nia Coffey, who joined them at the end of last season, but they've replaced her with Mia Sowa, and she will certainly be filling buckets because that's sort of what she does. But they've added her to their core, which is Courtney Woods, who I think pound for pound there's probably not a better player in the WNBL for a long time. Lauren Cox, the US import, who was there last season. Alex Fowler, who was MVP at the Asia Cup and is sort of come from, not from nowhere, but really starting to emerge. Abby Ellis, who was their rookie point guard last year out of college, and then Alicia Froling. So there's this sort of really strong core. And then they've added Lucy Olsen, who played with Jade Melbourne at Washington at the Mystics. So and then they have a very talented coach in Shannon Siebel. So depth, talent,
experience.
The Townsville home game.
Yeah.
They're interesting ownership. They're owned in a community-based organisation.
How does that work?
So, well, literally, there are no shareholders. There's the community of Townsville. They get a lot of government support, Queensland, and just well managed. So I think they are definitely top 4 and probably. So let's go to top 2 championship team. Who's playing off in the championship in February?
Let me. My crystal ball says.
Now it's meant to be.
Let's just look.
It's meant to be a 30-minute podcast.
We'll say Perth and Townsville.
Perth and Townsville. Okay, I would say
I thought that's a predictable prediction.
I've got 3 for my 2. Right, I'm going to throw Sydney into that mix as well. So, but my wild card in all this is sort of the question of what does it take to win. Well, there's definitely talent, continuity. It's the home. Perth and Townsville have good home court advantages, but I think there's just going to be a bit of luck here around injuries.
100%.
And Bendigo were absolutely the best team last year, and for good or bad, good luck or whatever, had a good run with their injuries, as in didn't have significant injuries. So I think that's probably the wild card that I'd throw out there.
Bendigo's your wild card? I
think so because I think, and that's my top 4. But I do think at the moment you'd probably say, if I had to pick, I'd probably say Townsville and Perth.
Yeah,
similar to you.
Yeah, I mean, halfway through the season we can readjust depending what's happened.
Okay, we're going to take a break for a minute and come back.
Some of us have vaped around little brothers and sisters. These kids could be breathing toxic chemicals without them even knowing. I don't think it's worth it vaping at all.
All right, Tony, we're back. And we're going to go straight into some WNBA conversation.
Been a big week.
It's been a very big week. Especially for one woman called Cheryl Reeves. An incident, we'll call it, on the court and subsequently off the court, which ended up leading her to a suspension. I think from the videos that we've seen, it was a situation where there's a foul called, or not called, sorry, and she believed the foul should have been called.
And an injury to the player.
And an injury to her player, which in my opinion, I feel like her initial reaction, the way it came out, was more so because of the injury to her player rather than the foul not being called. Because if you look at the footage, Cheryl didn't react to that magnitude until she turned around and saw that her player was on the floor and was injured. I feel like maybe it was just a bit more personal to her. My player's down. There was no call, but she didn't initially react until she saw that her player was injured. Then it led to the verbal dispute, her being held back by, I think, 3 to 4 different people, her being taken off the courts and ejected from the stadium, certain profanities being yelled out to fans along the way, and then a very, very interesting media conversation, which wasn't really a conversation. It was just her for how long? 2-3 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Walked in, said what she had to say, a few more F-bombs, and really just left it out there for how she felt about the league, about the reffing, and she wasn't happy. But I also think she was saying it very much from her point of view, but she used a lot of words that was like, this is what we believe. This is, as a league, we think the refs aren't good enough, and the organisation, this, that and the other. She was speaking for the whole league, which is a very big statement to make as an individual. And then, she ended up getting suspended for 1 game.
1 game, game 4, the last game.
Do we feel that was a fair suspension, as fair consequence?
I think there's a couple of things to this. One is you got to remember who Cheryl Reeves is and what she represents. I mean, she's been Team USA head coach. She's been the face of the Minnesota Lynx for well over a decade,
and she's the longest standing.
So I think the bit for me that is troubling is just what people see that behaviour. Yeah. Parents, coaches, and there's just a history in sport that people copy it.
Yeah.
And so it was extreme, you'd have to say.
Yeah, it was.
Look, the 1 game suspension, it was a big game to be suspended from, so you maybe say that's a factor. But, I thought I would have thought a statement of sort of 5 games would be, because it was just disproportionate.
To what the situation actually was.
I don't quite agree that it was the extra reaction was around the injury. I just think it was a 50-50 call in hindsight. It looked worse. I think it looked clearly like a foul.
Yeah.
I just think the role modelling piece is really important here, and that's
and I think that's because of who she is.
Because of who she is.
If this was I don't think a new coach or someone who didn't have the legacy that she has in the league, I don't think they would have had the confidence to say what they did. She does, because of how long she's been there and how passionately she feels about the entire league, the game, the rest of it. But I think a lot of her personal feelings were brought into that situation, taken out on the fans. Yep. It's got nothing to do with the fans.
No, I agree.
And then obviously the media conversation. So
the flow onto that is, obviously, then Napheesa Collier gets injured. She's out for the season. And then the next day in her season-ending interview for each of the players comes out and does a media piece. What did you make of Napheesa's comments about the league and in particular the WNBA Commissioner, Cathy Engelbert?
It wasn't what I was expecting. I think when it comes to those media conversations, often players kind of pick and choose what they're going to say. And they try and stick to being politically correct. They don't want to get fined. I think it was such a difficult situation, and I think because if it had been separate from what had happened with Cheryl and it was just an injury, and it was an injury and it is what it is, people may not have said much about that situation. But it's coming off of an incident that's made international news now. So I think. I feel sorry for her, to be honest, because I think that anything that she said is being scrutinised more.
She made a couple of big statements. I mean, she's called out the WNBA Commissioner as we have the worst leadership in any sport.
In the entire,
right? And, which is essentially calling for her to resign or be sacked or whatever it might be. And really in the midst of a CBA negotiation, right, it's
I feel like she's trying to back what her coach, she's trying to back her coach.
I agree.
Which I don't necessarily think it was the right thing to do. I don't think it was the right thing to do.
She went further than that, though, because she went past officiating. She didn't just comment on officiating. She commented on the league, right?
Yeah.
And then, the story unfolds further. Then Cathy Engelbert at the game one of the WNBA finals, she gives what is normal for a commissioner to give sort of the state of the nation. And she, in essence, she doesn't say it, but she in essence says that what Nepheesa said about conversations she'd had was not true. So, and announced that they were meeting a week later, and that meeting got cancelled by Nepheesa the day after that because essentially she called me she says I'm not telling the truth.
Yeah.
Right? So what does this all leave us to? I mean, a fun month to come.
I think it's definitely adding the drama to the league that keeps people watching, but I think it's kind of, it's put a little bit of a bit of a dampener to me on for how the final should have been kicked into. It's really disappointing from that sense. But I honestly think it stems from Cheryl, her behaviour, her reaction, her player. It wants to, support their league, their organisation. And I think she's just gone too far down and decided that's the hill she wants to die on.
Other interesting sort of, and these are all, it's difficult when you're on the outside, you sort of see these things and you go, well, that must be done for a reason, right? So the day before the WNBA finals start, Unrivaled announced 46 of their 48 players, right, starting in January. And interestingly, Ezzy Magbagor and Alana Smith, first two Australians to join that league, which is fantastic for them. Very proud and amazing for them. And they'll be playing there in January through to March, I think it is, mid-March. So there's all this stuff. So I think we've got a fair bit of cannon fodder for the next month of what we're going to be talking about in the 6th Woman Basketball Podcast.
But there's one particular name they haven't mentioned yet for Unrivaled.
No, they haven't mentioned Caitlin Clark.
Your favourite.
It's very interesting what...
Are they leaving the biggest to last?
Or they've got 2 spots left.
What if they don't add her?
I would think it's less likely she'll play than play. She's talked about the fact that she wants to play for Team USA in the FIBA window in March and get ready because she missed the vast bulk of the season. So anyway, we'll talk more about that as we go. You wanted to mention the very sad passing.
I do, and I've written something small because this is a special moment. It's a very sad moment, but it's a moment that needs to be recognised in a special way. So we recently lost a WNBL player in Tiana. So these are the words that I guess from 6th Women Basketball that I'd like to say. Every now and then, women's basketball gives a story that reminds us why we love this game. Not just for the highlights, but for the heart behind them. Tiana grew up in Australia with Maori roots and a fire that made her one of the most creative guards we've ever seen. As at Syracuse, she didn't just run the floor. She orchestrated it, leading the entire NCAA in assists. Then at 24, everything stopped. A breast cancer diagnosis changed her life, but not her spirit. Less than 2 years later, she came back, she played again, and she inspired again. Tiana's story isn't just about basketball, it's about resilience, grace, and what it means to fight for a purpose, one possession at a time. So from 6th Women Basketball, we send our love and our heartfelt sorrows to her family.
Yeah, well said. And interesting, the new WNBL did a lovely piece. They created an award for the preseason for the MVP. I just, the time will tell with these things, but I just wonder whether there's a community award that was introduced a couple of years ago in the WNBL. I wonder whether the longevity of that might be something that they think about in relation to Tiana. Okay, we're going to start to wrap things up. You wanted to ask me about a couple of rumours.
I did. There is a rumour about a certain international player coming from the Asian region, and it's to do with Perth. What do you know? Tell me more.
Okay, so this is exactly the sort of thing that the WNBL needs to be doing, and if it comes off this season, I think it'll, in many ways, be the highlight of the season. So there's a Chinese superstar, Han Yu, who's played for the national team, played in the WNBA, took the last season off to, in her words, to do further work on development. She's 6'9".
Sorry, what?
And she's a real personality as well. So the rumour is that Perth are signing her for the season, whether it's the whole season or partway through the season.
Even to see her here on our soil playing a few games.
And also, the beauty of these marquee players is not just in Perth, but when she comes to Melbourne, the Chinese community in Melbourne and Sydney,
And they are diehard fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And particularly similar to, you saw the Women's World Cup
Oh,
in
that was
Sydney.
insane.
That was insane.
A sea of red.
So that's just, let's see how that unfolds. It'd be exciting for the league, exciting obviously for Perth. Probably shoots them from, if they're in the top 3 teams, you'd think they're probably
they've got a little bit of a height advantage.
Yeah, I would have thought so. So, and just great for the game, great for the women's game in particular. And the other one is that there is a rumour going around that I can't say the name of the player, but a player who's been here before. She's European.
Okay.
And she may well be in the sights of another team within the league. And that might unfold in the next couple of weeks, and she may well be here for the opening round. So
I feel like you know more than you're saying.
I may know a little more, but I'm not we may be able to share that, and we'll talk a little bit about.
Who are these sources?
And
no, he doesn't say nothing.
So you just can't.
Lips are sealed.
You can't say anything. So. But over to you to close the show.
There was so much today, and I feel like there's so much more that we could keep talking about and just stretch this out for a lot longer. But exciting times. A new rebrand, new players, new potential players, just exciting times in general. So that's a wrap for today, but we've got so much ahead of us and an exciting season. So thank you guys for listening in, for watching in, wherever you are, and stay tuned on YouTube, on Instagram, and we'll see you next time at the Sixth Woman Basketball Podcast.